Our face. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Ian.
I'm your co-host, Brandon. Did you forget your name?
I know. You guys skipped Devon. Way to go, assholes.
It's Red. I can't see Red.
Devon.
Welcome, Devon. Becoming a paid Dungeon Master is a bit of a dream for many Dungeons & Dragons players. While others think that is just ridiculous, today we'll be discussing how to become a professional or paid Dungeon Master with Devon Chulick of StartPlaying.Games. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for coming on, Devon.
Thank you for having me. This is a treasure.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, hey, this is a treasure to be on your show. That's exciting. So,
thanks, Daniel King.
Here at Crit Academy, we hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. So how about we get into becoming a professional Dungeon Master? Today, as you've mentioned, we are joined by Devon. Thanks again so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do in the world of tabletop RPGs?
Yeah, so my name's Devon Chulick. I'm the COO of StartPlaying.Games. I'm one of the founders of it. StartPlaying.Games is a place to find groups, games, and game masters. The three Gs of tabletop RPGs. I started it with my co-founder because he was a player always looking for a GM, and I was a GM trying to find ways to help other professional GMs. And we kind of met in the middle and came together. And I also, for the past 4 years, have been making content for D&D under the channel Total Party Chill, which a lot of people know me from.
That's awesome.
And that's kind of what made it very easy to kind of transition all the people we've met and all this, what we built very easily into building StartPlaying.Games.
Wow, that is so cool.
And I'm at a bit of surprise too, because I've just come back, and I don't know much about what was going on this week. Yeah, I've just come back to the show. Yeah. I thought Devon was just a GM on the site. I didn't know he was the creator.
What the hell do you think I do here?
I don't know.
I reach out to awesome people. If I wanted to reach out to just random DMs, I would just call you.
I figured just look at yourself in the camera and
I mean, I should note that all of our GMs are pretty awesome.
See? There we go. So I guess I could reach out to any of them. Awesome.
And I guess kind of on that topic, what is Start Playing?
Yeah, Start Playing is the place to find games, groups, and game masters. A lot of people want to get into the hobby. A lot of people just want to find their game, and it is really accessible to play games now. Before, in the 80s and the 90s, you want to play D&D, you had to know someone and go to their house and play it. But now with things like Adventures League and online looking for games, all this, it makes it a lot easier for people to go out there, find the game, and get into it. That's one of the reasons why it's become so popular again, is because we've lowered the friction and the threshold. It's still a problem though. Like, people are looking through forums, Reddit, Discord servers, just trying to find a game, and there's all these professional dungeon masters out there, but there's no kind of central hub for them, and there's no kind of social proof, reviews, and things like that. So we built this site that connects players with professional game masters to have their campaigns or their one-shots. So we wanted to make sure that game night is never canceled.
Nice.
That's good. I bet it's been really bad because of 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And getting games going and being like, oh no, we gotta use Discord. Oh, my internet's not working. Oh, great.
Yeah, and this is really cool because despite what people say, and we know that there's a lot of negative connotation, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but there is no denying that there are far more players than there are dungeon masters, and that is almost, even with the expanse of the internet, it still seems to be true. Why do you think that is?
Why more? Well, it's onboarding. The concept of have you ever played a board game and you look at the rules and you're like, do I actually really want to play this?
Yes.
That's the thing. So a good game master reduces onboarding for their players. Instead of saying you're going to learn how to create a character, here's the book, read it, get back to me. They say, here's a pre-made. You're going to run with this. Don't worry about it. Once we start playing, it'll make sense. That's you removing friction. That's you removing the onboarding process. Once someone plays a game and they play with a character, they're like, oh, I get how this sheet works. I feel more confident to make a character now because I've played it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And not there's just not enough people that want to like invest the time to learn the systems and the onboarding techniques as a dungeon master and then run it. And the more people that play, you do get a few GMs out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say for every 100 that play and love it, 10 become GMs. And the rest just want to continue to play. But if we can get more people playing, we get more dungeon masters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So leaning into that, how does start playing take steps to help introduce players that have never played before that want to get into it, either from a GM's perspective or a player perspective? Yeah.
Well, so we don't do a lot that kind of levels up GMs. If you've never GM'd before, it's definitely like I've been GMing for a while and I'm a pro and I kind of want to take this to the next level and get paid for it. But when it comes to players, the hardest thing for a player is finding a game that works for the time that you can play. Mm-hmm. So just look through all these games like, hey, I want to play a game on Foundry on Tuesdays, and I wanted a campaign. Our site makes it really easy to just find games on Tuesday playing on Foundry, etc. Right. That's the first step, and if you can just find a game that's open, like, oh, there's 3 seats available in this one, 2 seats available in this one, joining that game, that's really the first thing. And it's a lot harder when you're just like looking at forums like, hey, I'm looking to start a game, I'll play whatever. People are like, well, what about Tuesdays? Well, actually, I can't do Tuesdays. Okay, Wednesdays, I can't do. And you're like, and it's just this back and forth, and you never actually get to play. And so we've designed it to take a lot of that out and make it really easy for the player just to book a game and start playing.
So you can.
See, that's why we named it that.
I see what you did there.
I can definitely appreciate that, just because like I actually run a game for my brother and his fellow law school students, and when the new semester started, everybody's schedules changed, so there was that proverbial, all right, what day works for you guys?
Yeah.
Well, I can't do Maze of Wizards, because I got classes on we played before.
Yeah, so, and that's pretty common with most people, I think, and it sounds like you've done a lot to kind of make that easier.
Yeah.
So the GM basically sets the times, and you scroll through a list of options, basically.
Yeah. So the GM's essentially like, hey, I'm going to run this adventure. I'm going to run it on these dates, and at this time. And players just look and they see all these games that are available and how many. When we first started the platform, we were like, hey, here's pro GMs. You just bring your group of friends and hire a GM. Then we realized that's not how people book. People are like, hey, I'm by myself. I just want a game. I want to meet another group of people. So we're like, oh, okay, we're going to make it so you can just buy a seat in a game, and you end up meeting all these other people. You create this kind of micro community with them, and it's really, really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that comes with a lot of benefits, because not only does it allow you to meet new people, but you get to meet new people that have generally a similar schedule to you. And I know Ian can attest to this, since he's usually a third shifter. That's something that's a blessing to players that don't get that don't generally have that option just because of their work and or school or whatever schedule they got going on.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's why you have these GMs that are like, hey, listen, I live in the UK. I'm running these games. That's perfect for, like a third shift schedule.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so going on to what is probably the most negative thing that comes out of being a professional dungeon master.
Yeah.
The negative connotation of getting paid to be a DM. Why do you think that is, and how do we overcome it?
We already did.
Okay.
The people that don't like it are a very small vocal minority.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's fine. Like it's one of those things like, why are you yelling so loud? 'Cause it doesn't affect you. But you want to know something cool? By the end of October, our GMs collectively would have made $1 million on our platform.
Nice.
Since we launched in September 2020.
All right,
September.
So it looks like I'm gonna have to start doing less Crit Academy episodes. We're gonna be going.
And I actually find the criticism against paid GMs to make no sense, because really, when you think about it, more and more stores, when they do Adventure League, they're charging, and if you're going to a convention, you're probably paying for that game anyway. Yep. So it's kind of one of those things where when you think about it, it makes no sense.
And what's funny about that, if you put that in the context of any other service, people pay for services. It's a service that somebody is offering. If you don't want it, run your own game. You don't have to be involved in it. But there are some people, I've been in this boat where I wanted to be a player and just couldn't, and would single-handedly be happy to toss down some money just so that I could play a game for 3 hours. To me, in my mind at least, it's no different than spending that money to go see a movie, to go hang out in an arcade. I'm looking for entertainment, and as a DM, I'm I would argue forever GM, which I love doing, don't get me wrong, but that makes it harder for me to be able to just sit down and get into a game. Though I can't not say that now, because now bi-weekly I am on the Initiative and Intrigue show. You should come and watch it. We are awesome, and it's all a bunch of great D&D content creators playing D&D. It's freaking amazing.
Wow, did you
Thanks, Alex Baum, for being the DM. Okay, I did plug that right in there. But
sprain your elbow while you're patting yourself on the back there?
No, man, everyone's great. But anyway, so there are, just like movies in restaurants, in pretty much any service, we have the ability to go and gauge what other people think of said service. What do you guys do to kind of reinforce that, hey, this person is great, people love them? How do you have a rating system or something built in for that?
Yeah, we have a rating system. If you like your GM, you could recommend them, and then you could write a little bit about like why you recommend them. And then GMs, one review per one GM per person. So, if you like this, you could review all 10 GMs you've played with, and just explain like why you like them. The thing is, like, we're a tech-first team, so we build something new every week. We continue to add features because we're not done. This is like version 1 of the site. Eventually, we're going to have the ability to review the GM on like all these different sectors. Like, oh, I really like this GM for their voices, and I really like this GM for their virtual tabletop maps, and I really like this. And so then we can start really highlighting like, oh, you as a player, it seems that you like games specifically with funny voices, rule of cool. Great. These GMs have all been very well reviewed for this. We want to pair you with them. And then other, like, I love crunchy combat. I love, like, dynamic lighting. I love that. We want to be able to pair them with that GM as well.
That is, in my opinion, a huge feature, because there are players who love a very specific type of gameplay. And sometimes, not always, they end up in a group with players that are different. Me, I'm more roleplay heavy, and I don't care so much for the tabletop number crunching. But one of my players, Ian, loves that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So even though that's not my jams, I have to make sure that I include that in my game because I want him to feel like he's included. But that's not going to be the same as him going and joining a game where every game is like that. That's catered to what he wants. There's something nice that's about that. I don't know if Brandon has any thoughts on that because he has a different play style than both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't even think you write any notes when you play.
No, my notes usually consist of 4 words, and that's don't kill the players.
Whatever. But so being able to target and deliver to the players the types of game masters that they want is a huge, huge boon to players paying for a game, because now they know everyone says this person runs the games just like this, and this is what I love. I'm excited, and you're going to get what you want, which is fantastic.
It's a good filter to have.
Yeah. So since this is something that runs through the internet, for building a community, what is the expected type of technology somebody that wants to participate in a game on that's going through startplaying.games?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people that are like, hey, we'll just do Discord voice.
Yes.
We have a lot of people like, hey, we're going to do it on Zoom or Google Meets or Roll20, Foundry. The thing is, like, there's so many GMs out there with so many kind of like, this is how I want to run my games, and finding players that want to run games that same way or play games that same way. And I think that's the big thing is, like, we don't want to be tied down to any virtual tabletop or any voice and video platform. We want our GMs to be able to use whatever they want.
Yeah.
And that really is fantastic because, for instance, me, I really enjoy a virtual tabletop game, but I don't want that to be every single session because and this is just Justin. I lose immersion with a virtual tabletop in the fact that I end up limiting my vision to what I can see on the grid, as opposed to when I play Theater of the Mind over a Discord or something where, okay, we're in a forest. Is there a tree out of line of sight that I can run up and climb up and take a archery Hawkeye style point, you know.
Whereas for me, is the exact opposite.
Yeah, and that's why having a review system that caters to that and opportunities that cater to that is fantastic.
I'm a fine mix between both of those.
Well, good.
If there's
my
enough stuff
always
going
know
on.
when we're playing Theater of the Mind, they're going to get away with a lot more because I'm not worried about movement. And if they're like, oh, yes. Oh, I get to make up some shit now. Yes.
Always pushing the limit, huh? I love it.
Yeah.
So that's really cool that's kind of an option that's considered in the hardware aspect of it. That means if all you have is a phone, you can find a game with the Discord group and play. You don't need to necessarily have a total virtual tabletop system to participate in these games, which I think is great.
All right. Which one? We've been bouncing around.
Well, he started going out of order, so that's really
that was
because there's one big question everyone wants to know, right, Ian?
Yep. Everybody's wondering with this service, what is the cost?
I mean, it's very much like Airbnb. Like, the GMs set their rate. You know, we are the Airbnb for Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Nice.
But our GMs set their own rate, so they decide how much to take. We take a 10% cut. So pretty nominal, less than many of the other big platforms like Fiverr, etc. So we take 10%, but our GMs can list their games for $5. We have many that list them for free. We have, I think kind of the average cost though you're going to see is anywhere between $10 and $20 is kind of like the average rate that we see games going for.
Wow, that's very reasonable.
Yeah,
and that's no more than a Starbucks coffee, which is freaking expensive as hell, by the way, or a movie,
Yeah,
and you're getting a whole night of entertainment at least.
I think one of the things I like the most about that specific part of the site, you see how much they're charging for whatever. It shows you how many seats they have, how many are filled. Mm-hmm. It tells you how long they've been DMing as a player. What else? They got a bunch of stuff up on there.
Yeah, like how many games they've run on our platform.
Yeah, that's one.
How long they've been doing it. That's a good one too. And the more information that's provided, the more satisfied the player is going to be. Now, we play Dungeons and Dragons, but we also play other games. How suited is this platform for other games outside of the traditional role-playing game or D&D specifically?
Yeah, I mean, just like platform, virtual tabletop, we're agnostic to the different, versions. We let our GMs run whatever they want. Same thing with games. There is maybe 18% of the games listed are not D&D, and that number is going to continue to grow. We see people running weekly games of Alien. We see a lot of Monster of the Week games, Pathfinder. So the idea is we want people playing games. We're not really too worried about what game they're playing. As long as we're creating little groups of people that are having fun and they're creating communities through play, we're happy.
So when there's since you just said that you don't care which games they play, if somebody runs a game that's for adults, is there a warning or something so a young kid doesn't end up signing up for something like that? Is there any sort of...
there's a hey, this is an 18+ game, or this game is for kids. So every GM kind of has their own take as well. There's a lot of GMs will also do hey, I'd like to interview you first before the game to make sure you are who you say you are, or join my Discord, that kind of thing. So the GMs are very, very intelligent people, and they all have kind of their own unique approach to it, and we don't want to we try to give them as many tools as possible so they can run games the way that they plan to.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically have this wonderful platform that stretches across multiple games, which honestly is really exciting for me because there's some games that I don't get to play because nobody I know plays them except for this guy who's on really weird ass shifts all the time. But that opens it up to allowing me to experiment too with games. I'm considered checking this game out. I can drop $10 and go sit at a table and learn if this is something that I want to invest in, especially when investing in a game these days. A tabletop can really end up racking in the dollars when you want to get started, get going. So being able to dip my foot into the end of the pool is actually pretty great.
Yeah, I think it's cool, because especially like I like to run a bunch of different games, but I like to play them before I run them. And so me as a GM, I will go on there and just find a GM who knows how to play that game. Like, hey, can I hire you to like run a 3-hour session? I just want to learn how this goes. I'm going to bring some friends, and then I learn a new system.
Yep. And I've definitely jumped into some games blind before, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's something I used to play a lot at like the different stores, right? I try to go around and find a store, and I don't know if I'm just a douchey player or well, okay, yeah, I'm definitely a douchey player and DM and person in general. But what I find is that I struggle to find somebody that really fits my theme. And when you're going to nearby stores, that's a very limited option. You can go to 3 stores and find one dungeon master, and if it's not one you like, you might end up sticking around and having less fun than if I'm like, oh, I didn't like this one. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Nope, don't like him. I'm going to try. And eventually I'll get to where I'm comfortable and there's somebody I really like.
Actually, there's one guy I know who on Facebook just asked, do DMs, when they build their games, have an option of saying, welcomes new players or for veteran players only? Because he'd rather...
Yes.
Because he would rather not take time explaining basic rules or spells to new people and just wants to get stuff going.
Yeah. I mean, it's you could say, is this a game open to all? Is it beginner friendly? Is it for advanced players? You can kind of stipulate the expectations you have as a GM for the player.
Actually, I was wandering around that site and I had just seen a GM that posted a game. It was free. It said role playing is low, combat was low. And the description is specifically said this is for new players, so I can teach them how the game is run.
See, that's awesome.
Being able to bring more consumers to the pool.
The game will have you.
Speaking of consumers and our players, what happens if something comes up and a player can't make it? Are they out of money? Do they lose money?
Well, that depends. We have our own cancellation policy that the site uses. GMs can override that to a degree. So, we have a 24-hour cancellation policy. So 25 hours before the game starts, like, I can't make it. You can go on. You can go just and skip your game that you have coming up. But if it's 12 hours away and you say, like, hey, GM, I can't make it because something really terrible came up. Your GM could be like, oh, cool, I'll skip you. I'll just, make sure it charges you 0. But then sometimes, if like you don't respond, you don't say anything, the GM's like, hey, there's a no call, no show, cancellation. Like you have to eat that fee because like I spent my time prepping the game for you.
And that makes sense.
Which is like, anywhere else that where you have a schedule, like, there's like on average a 24-hour cancel. I mean, if I don't show up to my therapy session, I'm still shoveling out that money to my therapist. You know
how great it would be to have, because I don't know about any other DMs, but I have had plenty of everyone canceled. I did all this work and you canceled. Well, too bad. I got your money now.
Here's like most GMs are like, hey, if someone's just like, flaky. But a lot of times we see people say, hey, don't worry about it. Like, just charge me. I can't make it. Like, you did all the work. Don't worry about skipping me. But we also notice more people are showing up and not skipping games when they're paying for it.
Yep, that makes sense.
It's easy money for me because I never prep.
But as long as everyone have fun, and honestly, I even know that that's a game style where we've sat at a table and say, all right, guys, everything tonight is improv. So
improv is fun. That's why I love doing it.
But it also means that. So I'm going to give my quick thoughts on this. So I love improv. I think it's great. It leads to a lot of great stuff. But I also, in my experience as somebody that, you bastard, he's doing little noise faces behind me. It also leads to potential campaigns that aren't as fully thought out because you didn't, and so they're a little more disjointed. But for short one shots and stuff, I think it's perfect. Anyways, that's my rant. So far my experience has been wonderful. I think this site was something that's been needed for years, and I'm always one of those people, man, we need an app or something like
Tinder.
Like Tinder, so I can swipe until I find a game I want. And you guys have essentially are you making it an app? Because that would be great.
I mean, eventually, the thing is, like, because it's a website, it's. I just noticed that, like, people are actually consuming and downloading apps. The data is showing that it's kind of empty. Because people are like, I just can go to the website. It's now like when like Yelp is like, hey, do you want to open this in Yelp? I'm like, no, I don't want to open up the app. I just want to like know the directions to this place.
Fair enough.
So what we've seen is that like people actually using apps and downloading apps is like downtrending. So we're kind of like debating do we want an app? You know, because if you make an app, then you are essentially developing a website and an app simultaneously. Maybe after a Series A fundraise, we'll probably do that. We finished our seed round up in October, so you know I don't see that on like this year or the next year, but maybe the year after that. I think especially a GM only app that like lets GMs manage everything they're doing would be really valuable.
Oh, absolutely, especially on the go because. I don't know about anyone else, but I get an hour of break time every day. So sometimes it's nice to goof off into my phone. And if you can prep for your game and get all that stuff taken care of right from an app, which you can, there are apps out there, but I don't for various reasons. But it would be nice if it was tied to, if I was, running a profile on Start Playing Games, that I could do that mobile. It sounds like I can do that anyway with or without an app. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, you showed the wife that she's like, you need to get on this.
well, I don't know. She doesn't think I'm very interesting when it comes to D&D, so maybe it's just you guys are biased. So, with that, is there anything that you would that we haven't covered that you would like to share with Crit Nation about becoming a professional or paid, game master, or something specifically on StartPlaying.games?
Yeah. So this person said I could share their story. They reached out to me and they said they were really thankful that they had this opportunity to start running games on our site, and they expanded saying that they are on disability, and so because of their situation, they get disability checks, and it's a little bit, but it's not a lot of money. And if they want to work, they can only make like $1,000 a month or something, and then they wouldn't apply for disability. But they said there's not a lot of jobs for them because of their disability.
Okay.
And they're always at home. And they said that this has empowered them to almost make enough to get off of disability.
Wow.
And they are making money that they now feel like empowered because they're making money for themselves rather than like this disability check. And like, that's great because it allows me to live. But this is something that I did. And when we start hearing these stories about people like that, or people who lost their job in the pandemic and ended up making the same amount of money running games on a platform,
wow,
that is so empowering and rewarding to hear, and that blows me away. It makes me so happy that we are building something for so many people for so many different reasons. It brings a lot of joy to my heart.
I would leave my job immediately if I could.
If you could, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I imagine it takes time to build up a name for yourself and stuff. But the fact that this is even an option, so I have to ask. The GM set the table charge. Is there a monthly membership or something to be part of the site, or do you guys just take a percentage from the table earnings? How does your business model work and make sure that everything keeps running? Because if I'm a GM on that site and then one day it just stops working, am I gonna how do I?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm wording that very well, but how do you guys survive as a business through this process?
Yeah. Well, we have a sizable amount in the bank that's going to allow us to operate for quite some time.
Sizable.
Because we did a seed round of investors. We have about 15 investors that are they
Wow.
really believed in us, and so because we're a lean company, we've kind of planned things out. So we have about
nice.
A little more than a year without having the need to make any money.
Wow.
But the thing is, we are making money, and we've continued to make more and more and more. That's kind of beginning to offset it. So hopefully, we'll be profitable within halfway through next year.
Oh, that's exciting.
Nice.
No,
we don't have a subscription fee.
No.
We actually might have this premium thing where we're making these we're making an AI tool for D&D that GMs can get, but that's kind of ancillary. Our team's made it, but it's start playing adjacent.
Right.
But right now it's just that 10%.
Okay, that's not bad at all.
No.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Okay, and when the GM makes their price, let's say it's $15 a game, is that $15 a game or per seat?
That's per seat.
Oh my
You
god.
pay per seat. So the investment's real. That's
Wow.
That's good. And what's great about that though is, and this is just my opinion, if you're really good at what you do and people figure that out, they're going to pay that price, especially if you're the GM that runs exactly the type of games that they want, lets them, experience the game the way they want to. That comes at a cost sometimes. I can pay $5 for this person, but when I play in that's crunchy. That's not really my jams. So I'm willing to shell out a little more for the experience that I want. And some people know what they want more than others, and that's okay too. So,
yeah.
All right. I think that'll do it for our main topic. Holy crap. This has been awesome. I'm kind of wishing I had the time myself now to give this a go personally. I know Brandon's interested for sure.
Oh, I am.
So maybe I'll jump in his game and let him run a game for me for a change, eh? You ran one game for me in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and then I hit a third shift job or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that'll do it for our main topic today.